Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. We're looking into this really extraordinary set of developments that are, well, they seem to be completely transforming everything.
Everything from global finance
Yeah.
to how we handle our most personal data.
Exactly. And we live in a world that's, let's face it, grappling with some incredibly complex issues.
Yeah.
Economic disparities, big concerns about privacy, the efficiency or maybe lack thereof of our institutions.
Huge challenges.
But what if there was a foundational technology emerging, like right now, that's poised to fundamentally reshape these challenges, maybe from the ground up?
Well, that's exactly what we're digging into today. We're unpacking a really fascinating collection of insights, all drawn from blockchainrevolution.pdf.
Okay.
Think of this as like your shortcut to getting up to speed quickly and thoroughly on why the blockchain isn't just about digital money,
Right. It's more than Bitcoin.
Way more. It's this potential worldwide ledger of value. That's the phrase they use.
Wow.
And it could reshape how we live, work, even how we govern ourselves.
So our mission today is basically to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, the surprising facts.
Precisely. To help you become genuinely well-informed on this fast.
That's the goal. And look, as we start exploring these pretty groundbreaking concepts, you might find yourself wanting to dig even deeper, especially into the basics, the tech that kicked it all off.
Yeah, the foundations are key.
So for those of you eager to really understand the nuts and bolts, particularly of Bitcoin, we highly recommend checking out bitcoinbytes.org.
Good shout.
That's bitcoinbytes.org. It really is a fantastic resource if you're just starting your journey into this pretty revolutionary technology.
Absolutely. A great starting point.
Okay, so let's unpack this foundational concept then. What is blockchain? At its core, we all know about double-entry bookkeeping.
Right, the system that basically enabled modern capitalism, the nation state, all of that goes back centuries.
Exactly. But now imagine a new kind of ledger, a digital ledger for economic transactions. And it's not just like a fancy spreadsheet online.
No, not at all. It's a distributed ledger. That's the key difference. And it can be programmed to record, well, virtually everything of value. Anything important to us.
Everything. That sounds huge.
It is. Things we've never been able to track or secure this way before.
The Bitcoin network is often used as a metaphor here, right? To understand this worldwide ledger of value.
It's a really compelling one, yeah. You can sort of visualize it as this constant heartbeat of a truly global, decentralized network.
Okay.
So roughly every 10 minutes or so, all the transactions that have happened across the network get gathered up. They're meticulously verified, cleared, and then bundled together and stored in what's called a block.
A block, got it.
And then this is crucial, that block is cryptographically linked to the one right before it. So it forms this unbreakable, continuous chain of records. A blockchain.
Ah, okay. And that's where this idea of immutability and security comes in, the fact that it's a chain.
Exactly. That's the real beauty of the structure. It permanently timestamps and stores every single exchange of value. Once a transaction is in a confirmed block, part of that chain...
It's there for good.
Pretty much. It's virtually impossible for anyone to go back and alter that ledger after the fact. I mean, think about it. If you wanted to steal a Bitcoin, you'd literally have to rewrite its entire history.
On the blockchain itself.
Yeah. In broad daylight, essentially, in front of this massive global network of computers all watching and verifying.
And that's just not feasible.
Practically speaking, it's an insurmountable task. The amount of computing power you'd need is astronomical. It's like the World Wide Web, for information.
Okay.
But this is designed specifically to link and secure value.
Wow. Okay.
And this inherent design, this structure, leads directly to its ubiquity and accessibility. This distributed ledger isn't owned by any single company or government.
Right. No central owner.
Anyone can download the software, run it on their personal computer, and become part of the network.
So what does that create?
It creates this global network consensus, essentially a shared, continuously updated, and constantly verified record of every single transaction that has ever occurred on that specific blockchain.
So for me, for you listening, what does that mean practically?
It means it's a platform designed for trust without needing a middleman. You don't need to trust a specific bank or a government agency or, Visa to verify a transaction.
The network itself does the verifying.
The network itself, through its collective participants and the rules embedded in the code, provides that verification. It fundamentally shifts who holds the power in validating things.
And when you start thinking about the potential scope
Yeah.
It just seems immense. He said it's not just financial transactions.
Oh, far, far beyond just money. This new platform enables real-time reconciliation of digital records for this, well, astonishing array of things. Think about it.
Like what?
Birth certificates, death certificates, marriage licenses, deeds and titles for property, educational degrees, financial accounts, obviously, but also medical procedures, insurance claims, votes, even tracking the provenance of food.
Where your food came from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is this really organic? Is this really fair trade? The blockchain could provide verifiable proof. Basically, anything that can be expressed in code can potentially be recorded and secured.
It truly sounds like the ledger of everything.
That's the term, yeah. And this doesn't just secure data, it fundamentally shifts power. Think about your medical history. Instead of it sitting in fragmented, vulnerable silos controlled by hospitals or insurers,
I could control it.
imagine you control your own health record on a blockchain. You grant temporary specific access to a doctor or an insurer only when necessary. You could even potentially monetize anonymized parts of it for research if you chose to.
That's a profound re-architecting of personal autonomy, isn't it? How we interact with our own information.
Absolutely. It flips the model.
So, at the heart of all this, Satoshi Nakamoto, the mysterious creator of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Their breakthrough was solving this double spend problem.
Exactly. That was the big hurdle for digital cash before Bitcoin. How do you stop someone from spending the same digital coin twice? I mean, unlike a physical dollar bill, digital information can be copied perfectly, right?
You can just copy-paste a file.
Right. So how do you prevent that with money without having a central bank or a company watching every single transaction?
So what was Satoshi's genius?
Satoshi's genius, and we still don't know who he, she, or they really are, was leveraging an existing idea, the distributed peer-to-peer network, and combining it with clever cryptography
Okay.
to create this consensus mechanism, a way for the network to agree on the state of the ledger. That solves the double spend problem just as effectively, maybe even better, than a trusted third party like a bank.
So how does that work?
Yeah.
The timestamping you mentioned.
Yeah, the network is designed to rigorously timestamp the first time an owner tries to spend a specific coin.
The very first attempt.
Right. And then the protocol, the rules of the network, simply rejects any later attempts to spend that exact same coin. It establishes this undeniable order of events. First come, first served, essentially locked into the chain.
Okay, that makes sense. But how does the whole network agree on which transaction was first? Especially if things happen almost simultaneously in different parts of the world.
Ah, good question. That's where the miners and this concept of proof of work, or POW, come in.
Okay, miners. Who are they? What are they actually doing?
Miners are participants on the network who run specialized computers. Well, these days they're often highly specialized hardware, not just regular PCs. They run the full Bitcoin software, hosting and verifying copies of the entire blockchain ledger.
So they maintain the records.
Yes. And their specific job is to gather up all the recent unconfirmed transactions.
The ones waiting to get into a block.
Exactly. They bundle them into a potential new block. They check them against the rules, make sure no one's trying to double spend. And then comes the proof of work part.
The puzzle.
The puzzle, yeah. Well, the idea is quite elegant, even if the mechanics are complex. Think of it like a massive, fiendishly difficult digital Sudoku puzzle that the miners are all racing to solve.
Difficult to solve.
Incredibly difficult. It requires a huge amount of computational power. That's the work in proof of work. They're basically making trillions upon trillions of guesses per second.
But easy to verify.
But once one miner finds the solution, a specific number called a nonce, that makes the block's data hash correctly according to the rules, it's instantly and undeniably obvious to everyone else on the network that they've found it. Verification is super easy and fast.
And the first one to solve it gets.
The first miner to find that correct solution gets the right to add their block of transactions to the official chain. And crucially, they get rewarded with newly minted Bitcoin plus the transaction fees from that block.
Ah, the incentive.
Exactly. That's the economic incentive that drives the whole system.
And you mentioned this puzzle solving is happening constantly at a crazy rate.
Absolutely mind-boggling. Even back in 2015, the network was performing something like 500,000 trillion hash calculations per second.
Wow.
Miners were making, on average, maybe 350 million trillion attempts just to find the right answer for a single block. The difficulty automatically adjusts to keep the average block time around 10 minutes.
So miners are spending real resources hardware, lots of electricity.
Significant resources, yes. to solve this cryptographic puzzle and find that unique digital fingerprint, the hash, for their block.
And the genius is that even if they're just acting selfishly, trying to get the reward.
Their actions inherently benefit the entire system by securing it. They're validating transactions and making the chain longer and harder to tamper with. Satoshi's design also cleverly rewarded early adopters more heavily, bootstrapping the network and providing a powerful incentive to ensure its long-term success, maintain the ledger, and finance its ongoing development.
And this makes attacks difficult, like someone creating fake identities.
Right. It makes what are called Sybil attacks, where one entity tries to create lots of fake nodes to gain control economically unviable. The cost of the computing power needed to outpace the honest network is just too high. It's cheaper to play by the rules and earn the rewards. It's a really elegant fusion of cryptography, game theory, and economics.
Okay, so with that foundation, this decentralized trust machine, essentially we can see how it starts to challenge the way businesses are structured. Right, re-architecting the firm, changing those traditional boundaries.
Absolutely. Think about the first era of the internet. It was revolutionary, no doubt, but it also led to this quite problematic concentration of power.
Yeah, the big tech giants.
Exactly. Huge institutions, digital conglomerates, Amazon, Google, Apple, Facebook, they captured these immense treasure troves of user data, hoarding it away in private silos.
And data became the new oil, as they say.
It really did. Data became this incredibly powerful new asset class, often more valuable than physical assets or even traditional capital.
But the downside is pretty clear.
Oh, yeah. This concentration undermines our basic ideas of privacy and individual autonomy. These central powers have shown time and again they're willing to override user preferences, warehouse massive amounts of data, sometimes without clear consent, respond to government data requests, often without the user even knowing.
It creates a huge power imbalance.
Definitely.
And this centralization also makes these companies massive targets, doesn't it? Huge vulnerabilities.
Precisely. We've seen the painful results over and over. Catastrophic crashes, fraud, and these enormous security breaches. Remember, Target, 70 million records.
JP Morgan Chase.
76 million. Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, 80 million. eBay, 145 million records compromised.
It's staggering. And that's our personal information, financial details.
Leading to identity theft, financial loss, huge headaches for millions of ordinary people. Now just flip that script for a second. Imagine if you owned your data stream, your personal avatar, as the source puts it.
I control who sees what when.
Yes. And maybe you could even monetize it yourself on your terms instead of it being sold or breached without your knowledge. That's a radically different model than the current reality.
So how does blockchain offer a fix for this centralization problem?
It offers a fundamental shift in principle. Distributing power across a peer-to-peer network means there's no single point of control. No single server to hack, no single company to subpoena for everyone's data, no single kill switch.
So it's more resilient.
Much more resilient. No single party can just shut the system down. It can survive even if governments or powerful entities try to interfere. And as we discussed, the economic disincentives for attack are baked in.
The cost of overpowering the network.
For something like Bitcoin, the energy costs are just so astronomically high, they far outweigh any potential financial gain for an attacker.
Yeah.
That idea, inspired by Adam Back's earlier hashcash concept, is really core to its security. It makes being malicious prohibitively expensive.
Okay, and this leads us to something really fascinating. Smart contracts. You mentioned them earlier. Coined by Nick Szabo way back in '94.
Yeah, long before blockchain as we know it existed, but the concept was visionary. These aren't just legal documents on paper, they are computer programs. Code.
Code that does what?
Code that secures, enforces, and executes agreements automatically. It's deployed onto a blockchain.
So the contract runs itself.
Essentially, yes. It can capture complex information, perform calculations based on inputs, and execute decisions like releasing payments, transferring ownership, verifying conditions, all automatically within this decentralized environment that has its own built-in settlement system.
So code becomes law, in a way. What's the real impact of that?
The potential is for truly frictionless transactions. Think about buying something online today. There's still friction, right? Trusting the seller, payment delays, waiting for shipping confirmation.
Yeah, lots of steps.
With a smart contract, imagine, the moment you pay, the money instantly appears to the seller because the contract verifies the funds and releases them. And maybe that same contract automatically triggers a shipping instruction to a logistics provider.
So it speeds everything up, makes it more reliable.
Exactly. That immediacy and automation could make business interactions far more efficient and trustworthy. And think about professions like law.
How does it affect them?
Well, lawyers have often been, let's say, slow to adopt new tech. But expertise in designing, auditing, and deploying smart contracts, that's a huge opportunity for innovation in contract law. Moving from ambiguous paper agreements to self-executing, verifiable code,
So it forces clarity.
it almost forces a new kind of upfront clarity. Parties have to define conditions and outcomes much more precisely in the code, covering all the edge cases. In theory, this could streamline complex deals and maybe even reduce disputes later on because the rules are baked in from the start.
But surely there are downsides to that kind of mathematical certainty.
Oh, absolutely. There are trade-offs. Smart contracts offer this unprecedented degree of automated certainty. Non-performance risk can, in theory, be eliminated because the code is the enforcement mechanism. But that rigidity means significantly less room for human judgment, negotiation, interpretation, or what the source interestingly calls the gift of forgetting.
The gift of forgetting.
Yeah, the idea that sometimes society needs mechanisms for forgiveness or letting things go. What happens in a world of irrevocable, code-driven transactions? If one party is genuinely unhappy with the outcome, even if the code executed exactly as written.
Even if it was technically correct.
Right. Will people still end up in court? Especially if, as some estimate, something like 80% of current contract breaches aren't even litigated because it's too expensive or complex. It's a massive shift with really significant implications for how we resolve disagreements when things inevitably go wrong in unexpected ways.
Okay, moving beyond just the structure of companies. Blockchain seems poised to create entirely new business models, right? And maybe drive more economic inclusion. This idea of distributed capitalism.
Exactly. Let's take a concrete example they use. Airbnb, centralized company, takes a cut, sets the rules.
Right.
Now imagine Airbnb, a distributed application, a dApp built on a blockchain. It's essentially a cooperative owned and governed by its users, the hosts and renters.
So no central company.
No central company taking that big slice. Listings could be stored on a dedicated home listings blockchain. Reputation scores for both providers and renters would be maintained transparently on the platform, helping everyone make better decisions without that intermediary.
Vitalik Buterin, the Ethereum founder, had a quote about this.
Yeah, a great one. He said something like, instead of putting the taxi driver out of a job, blockchain puts Uber out of a job and lets the taxi drivers work with the customer directly.
Wow, that flips the script.
It's a fundamental reversal of those platform dynamics we've gotten used to.
And this extends beyond just replacing existing companies to devices themselves.
Yeah, technologists are envisioning a world where smart devices, your fridge, your car, industrial sensors become truly autonomous agents.
Agents, meaning they act on their own.
Capable of sensing their environment, responding to it, communicating with other devices, and even exchanging units of value paying for electricity, data, or services, all without direct human intervention.
Like machines paying machines.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Buterin even developed a taxonomy for these agents, from simple self-executing programs all the way to potentially sophisticated AI that could discover new industries and operate economically on its own.
That sounds futuristic.
It is, but the building blocks are being laid.
There's an example, weather dApp.
Yeah, a hypothetical but illustrative one. Right now, if you want detailed weather data, you probably rely on big centralized services, right? They own the expensive sensors and satellites.
Yeah.
But imagine weather dApp. Anyone could buy a relatively inexpensive weather node device for their roof, connect it to this global blockchain marketplace, and become a provider or consumer of hyperlocal weather data.
So it decentralizes data collection.
Totally. It dramatically lowers the barriers to entry for innovation. You could have this incredibly rich, real-time global market for environmental data, creating a whole new data economy from the ground up.
Okay, let's connect this to the bigger picture. Solving the prosperity paradox, helping the unbanked.
This is where blockchain's potential impact gets really profound, I think. The current financial system, for all its benefits, leaves billions of people behind.
The unbanked.
Exactly. People living on less than, say, $2 a day. For traditional banks, serving them often isn't seen as a profitable proposition, to quote the source. Basic financial services, a bank account, savings, access to credit are just unattainable.
You mentioned Nicaragua.
Yeah, the stats are stark. Only 19% have formal bank accounts. Less than 10% can borrow or save formally. Combine that lack of financial tools with often burdensome government red tape, and starting a business, escaping poverty, becomes incredibly difficult.
So how does blockchain help here?
This is where it could genuinely supercharge entrepreneurship and boost prosperity. Think about transaction costs. Traditional bank transfers have minimums fees.
Can be expensive, especially for small amounts.
Right. But blockchain transactions can be incredibly tiny fractions of a penny sometimes, and the cost to process them can be very low. This makes true micropayments feasible.
So people can send or receive tiny amounts.
Yes. And all you really need is access to an internet-enabled device like a basic smartphone, which are becoming much more common globally.
What does that unlock?
It unlocks access to new sources of credit, maybe peer-to-peer lending, access to crowdfunding, access to global suppliers and partners, investment opportunities for billions who were previously completely shut out of the formal economy.
And it ended DeSoto's quote.
A powerful one. No talent or resource is too small to monetize on the blockchain. It basically democratizes access to capital and markets on a global scale.
This must also apply to remittances, sending money home.
Oh, hugely. Remittances are a lifeline for millions, but the fees and delays are often outrageous.
Eric Voorhees' comparison.
Hilarious but true. It is faster to mail an anvil to China than it is to send money through the banking system to China.
Ouch.
Companies like Abra are already disrupting this. They use a network of local tellers, individuals, or small shops where people could exchange digital currency sent via blockchain for physical cash, cutting out the slow, expensive banks.
The story of Annalise sending money.
Yeah, Toronto to the Philippines illustrates the typical high fees, maybe 4% or more gone instantly, plus the delays and hassle. Blockchain can make that near instant and cost a tiny fraction.
That trust factor.
Well, look at the explosive growth of the sharing economy. Uber, Airbnb. It proves people are willing to trust each other, peer-to-peer, often more readily than they trust large, faceless institutions. Blockchain just provides the secure, transparent rails for that trust.
What about foreign aid? That's often criticized for inefficiency.
Another area ripe for disruption. The 2010 Haiti earthquake was a tragic example of how dysfunctional traditional aid delivery can be. So much money donated, so little accountability for where it actually ended up.
So blockchain could track the money.
Imagine if every single dollar donated could be tracked on a public, immutable blockchain, from the donor, through the aid agency, right down to the specific beneficiary on the ground. Did it buy a plank of wood, a bandage, food? You could see.
And smart contracts could help too.
Definitely. You could program aid delivery so that funds are only released automatically when certain verifiable milestones are met, like materials delivered, a schoolhouse built. It enforces accountability and could radically improve the effectiveness of aid.
You mentioned reputation systems earlier, replacing credit scores.
Yeah, that's another key aspect for financial inclusion. Traditional credit scores rely on very limited data, mostly your past borrowing history with formal institutions. If you don't have that history, you're invisible.
So blockchain enables richer reputation.
Exactly. Platforms like BTC Jam, a peer-to-peer lender, were early examples. They used linked social media profiles, Facebook, LinkedIn, transaction history on the platform, reviews from other users, pulling together a much more holistic picture of someone's trustworthiness.
A reputation loan.
Right. You could start with a small loan designed just to prove you're reliable, pay it back, and build your on-chain reputation score. This incentivizes good behavior and could drastically lower borrowing costs for trustworthy people, opening up credit to billions who are currently excluded.
And it's not just lending and payments. This blockchain IPO, democratizing investment.
Yeah, this is really fascinating. The example given is Augur, a decentralized prediction market platform. Back in August 2015, during a crazy week for traditional stock markets, they launched one of the most successful crowdfunding campaigns ever.
How much did they raise?
About $4 million in the first week from over 3,500 people globally.
And the revolutionary part.
The revolutionary part was how they did it. There was no brokerage firm involved, no investment bank, no stock exchange, no mandatory regulatory filings in the traditional sense, no lawyers facilitating the deal, not even Kickstarter.
So how did they raise the money?
Directly on the blockchain. It was the blockchain IPO.
Using tokens.
Exactly. Companies can now issue digital tokens or crypto securities directly on a blockchain. These tokens can represent equity in the company, debt, like a bond, or specific rights to use the platform itself.
Like Ethereum did.
Precisely. Ethereum funded its entire initial development through a crowd sale of its native token, Ether. People bought Ether believing the platform would become valuable.
And this is globally accessible.
That's the key. The average investment in Augur was around $750. But imagine if the minimum subscription was just $1. or even 10 cents.
Anyone could invest.
Potentially, yes. Anyone in the world with an internet connection, even someone in the most remote village, could become a micro-investor in global projects or companies. It truly leverages that wisdom of the crowd idea for funding and potentially even collective decision-making. It's a global, permissionless capital market being built from the bottom up.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit.
Yeah.
Section 4 talks about animating the physical world, the Internet of Things, IoT, and blockchain.
Right. We touched on this with autonomous agents, but it goes deeper. The IoT is moving beyond just passive monitoring, like tracking weather patterns or your Fitbit counting steps.
To devices that act.
Exactly. Devices that can actively sense their environment and respond. They can execute transactions, trigger actions, operate according to pre-programmed rules, all autonomously.
The smart power pole example.
Yeah, imagine a power pole that doesn't just sit there. It continuously monitors its own structural integrity. If it detects a fault, it automatically reports its exact GPS location and triggers a repair crew dispatch.
And if it fails completely.
It could even intelligently reassign its load or responsibilities to the nearest functioning poles in the grid, maintaining network resilience. That's building intelligence and resilience directly into the physical infrastructure.
And local energy markets. LO3 Energy.
A really cool real-world example. They're creating microgrids where neighbors with solar panels, for instance, can sell excess energy directly to their neighbors who need it peer-to-peer.
Cutting out the big utility company.
Facilitated by blockchain to track the energy flows and handle the payments automatically. It leads to much more efficient local energy use and a fairer system, empowering communities to manage their own energy resources. Distributed capitalism right down to the kilowatt hour.
And the sheer scale of this? The number of connected devices.
It's exploding. The projection mentioned was from 10 billion devices around 2015 to over 25 billion by 2020. And it's only accelerated since then. We're talking about generating infinite data, as the source puts it.
And these devices put analysis in our hands.
Or into the hands of autonomous systems, yeah. Real-time data analysis, pattern recognition happening right at the edge, empowering individuals, communities, or AI agents, often bypassing those traditional central data aggregators.
But current IoT systems face big challenges.
They do, significant ones. There's often a lack of trust between different systems and devices from different manufacturers. There's the constant fear of malicious hackers taking control of connected devices, think hacked cameras, or even cars.
Future-proofing is hard, too.
Very hard. How do you update and secure a smart thermostat or an industrial sensor that might be installed for 10 or 20 years? Scalability is another huge issue. How do you securely connect billions, potentially trillions, of diverse devices across countless networks?
And centralized databases struggle.
Traditional centralized databases just weren't designed to handle trillions of real-time transactions from all these devices securely and at very low cost. The current model hits a wall.
So how does blockchain solve these specific IoT problems?
This goes back to Satoshi's core design for Bitcoin. It ensures transaction integrity without needing to know or trust each individual node on the network.
Trust is in the network, not the node.
Exactly. This ledger of everything requires minimal trust in the individual participants because trust is embedded in the protocol, in the cryptography, in the consensus mechanism.
So for IoT,
Blockchain technology lets us securely identify each smart device with its core information, its unique digital identity. We can program them to act under specific, defined circumstances, knowing that the record of those actions and the rules themselves are stored immutably without risk of error, tampering, or unauthorized shutdown.
even big players see this. IBM.
Yeah, even IBM, traditionally the giant of centralized computing, recognized that blockchain is pretty essential to unlock the IoT's true potential. They actually talk about device democracy.
Device democracy,
Yeah. And companies like WiseKey are working on an industrial blockchain where the objects themselves are assigned a trusted digital identity. They can communicate directly, machine to machine, securely. Untrusted or compromised devices could be automatically rejected by the network without needing to check with some central authority.
So machines trust other machines based on their blockchain identity.
That's the paradigm shift. It enables secure, direct communication and even financial transactions between devices peer-to-peer.
So what does this ledger of things look like in practice? What are some real-world applications?
Oh, countless possibilities. It really enables this idea of distributed capitalism across the physical world. Think environmental monitoring.
We mentioned the weather nodes.
Right, but also autonomous agents monitoring air and water quality in real time, issuing instant alerts for pollutants or emergencies, tracking lightning strikes to predict forest fires. providing early warning systems for earthquakes or tsunamis based on distributed sensor networks.
Real estate.
Smart contracts could help tourists, students, even homeless shelter managers dynamically find and book available spaces, hotel rooms, apartments, offices, factory floor time matching needs with availability instantly and securely.
Industrial operation. The factory floor.
The industrial blockchain could allow smart devices to monitor production lines constantly, track inventory levels precisely, ensure quality control automatically.
The jet engine example.
Imagine a critical component in a jet engine, sensing that it's nearing the end of its life or needs maintenance. It could autonomously issue an RFP, a request for proposal, to pre-approve suppliers for a replacement part.
It ordered its own replacement.
It could evaluate the bids based on price, delivery time, supplier reputation on the blockchain, and automatically accept the best bid, triggering payment and shipping. Think of the massive cost and time savings in complex supply chains. Manufacturers could shift from selling products to selling outcomes or uptime as a service.
And closer to home. Smart homes.
That's already happening and evolving fast. Automated remote control for door access, heating, lighting, security systems. That market was projected to hit over $10 billion in the US alone by 2019, and it's grown massively since.
Retail, too.
Yeah, imagine your phone tells you a dress you previously liked is available in your size at a store nearby. You walk in, try it on, scan it with your phone to pay via a smart contract.
And it just gets shipped.
And the dress finds its way to your house automatically. Retailers could personalize offers based on your location and purchase history if you choose to grant them access to that data via your black box on the blockchain. User control is key.
So the overarching benefits seem huge.
They really are. Increased revenue and efficiency by utilizing idle assets. Improved effectiveness by reducing human error through automation. Greatly increased security and integrity because trust is architected in. Reduced risk of system failure due to decentralization, and potentially even reduced energy consumption through optimized resource allocation and less waste.
And the economic impact figure.
McKinsey Global Institute estimated it could be worth as much as $11.1 trillion per year by 2025.
11 trillion.
Which would be like a 10% lift on global GDP. That's the scale of transformation we could be looking at. It's truly astonishing potential.
Okay, let's transition now to maybe one of the most critical areas. Rebuilding government and democracy using these principles.
A huge and sensitive area, definitely. Estonia is often cited as a fascinating precedent here.
They went fully digital after Soviet independence.
Pretty much. They completely rethought government services using internet technologies back in the 90s. Today, something like 95% of taxes are filed electronically, 98% of banking transactions are online. They really embraced being a digital country.
And they have digital IDs.
Yes, citizens use e-ID cards or mobile ID for secure digital signatures across almost all public and private services. They have an e-school system for tracking grades and assignments.
What about health records?
This is really interesting. Diverse health information is aggregated into a single unified record for each citizen.
But who controls it?
Crucially, the citizen has exclusive access and control over who sees what. The data isn't just sitting in a big government database. The individual manages access rights. Now, Estonia did this largely before blockchain was mature, using other secure tech.
But the principle aligns.
The principle aligns perfectly. Blockchain could potentially provide an even more secure, immutable, and citizen-controlled layer for things like digital identity and verifying consent for data access.
And this digitalization led to efficiency gains.
Land registry.
Huge gains. Their electronic land registry cut the time for property transfers from about 3 months down to just over a week.
Wow.
And their e-residency program is remarkable. Anyone, anywhere in the world can apply for a government-issued digital identity.
An Estonian digital identity, even if you don't live there.
Exactly. And use that to register and run an EU-based company entirely online, often in under 20 minutes. It's opened up global entrepreneurship. Again, imagine layering blockchain security onto those digital identities and company registries for even greater trust and immutability.
But beyond efficiency, many societies are facing a deeper crisis, right? Legitimacy, human rights in this digital age.
Absolutely. Despite all the tech advances, groups like Human Rights Watch consistently report increases in government surveillance, censorship, online repression globally.
Leading to distrust.
It inevitably leads citizens to question the legitimacy of their own institutions. That bumper sticker mentioned in the source, "Don't vote. It only encourages them.
Reflects real disillusion. It reflects a widespread feeling of disempowerment and cynicism, unfortunately.
And privacy is fundamental here. And Kavukian's point.
Crucial. Freedom is predicated on privacy. She draws lessons from history, like Germany under the Third Reich, where eroding privacy was a key step towards dismantling freedoms.
And the problem persists.
Sadly, yes. Data gets collected, often without meaningful consent, used in ways we don't understand, and then exposed in these massive breaches we talked about, T-Mobile, JP Morgan, eBay. It's a constant assault on personal autonomy and security.
So how can blockchain specifically offer solutions for governance and democracy, beyond just efficiency?
It offers a potential roadmap to rebuild trust through transparency and accountability. Imagine, as a taxpayer, being able to see exactly where your tax dollars are flowing on a public, auditable ledger.
See how resources are used, if programs are working.
Exactly. Verifiable data on outcomes. This could provide, paradoxically, more government in terms of information and insight, but also less government by empowering individuals and communities to hold institutions accountable and act on verified data themselves rather than relying on opaque bureaucracies.
What about elections? That's a cornerstone, but often flawed.
Definitely a cornerstone, and often surprisingly low-tech or unreliable. The mechanics haven't changed much in centuries, and electronic voting attempts have often been disastrous. Remember North Carolina in 2004?
Losing thousands of votes.
Yeah, 4,438 votes lost from one machine in a race decided by just over 2,000. That kind of error completely undermines faith in the outcome.
So how can blockchain help elections? Coin.
Coin is one idea. It uses cryptographic proof of work, similar to Bitcoin's mining, to essentially carbon date commitments or data entries. It creates an immutable time-stamped record that makes it much harder to tamper with election data or results after the fact.
And Demos.
Demos is a more comprehensive system, an end-to-end e-voting protocol developed by academics. It uses a distributed public ledger, a blockchain, to create a secure, verifiable, anonymous digital ballot box, potentially allowing secure voting from anywhere.
Are there real-world examples of this kind of citizen action?
Yes, Kawal Pemilu, Protect the Vote, in Indonesia is a great example. They use decentralization and transparency, basically crowdsourcing, to publicly tally election results online in real time, allowing voters themselves to verify the counts from local polling stations and detect anomalies or attempts at fraud or cyber attacks. Power to the people, literally.
And David Chaum's idea. Random sample elections.
That's a fascinating, almost counterintuitive one. The idea is that only a randomly selected, statistically significant sample of voters actually receive ballots that count.
But how does that work?
The clever part is that the non-selected ballots are designed to be cryptographically indistinguishable from the selected ones to everyone except the voter who requested it. This makes large-scale vote buying incredibly difficult and costly, because a buyer would have no way of knowing if the vote they paid for was actually one of the ones that counted. It could produce more representative results immune to certain kinds of fraud.
What about other democratic pillars? Freedom of the press, IP rights.
Blockchain offers potential solutions there too. For press freedom, platforms like Factum allow reporters or publishers to anchor articles or documents onto an immutable blockchain ledger.
So they can't be censored or deleted later.
Exactly. Governments couldn't easily block or alter content once it's secured on the chain, unlike, say, blocking access to Wikipedia, which happened in China. It provides a censorship-resistant publishing mechanism.
And for artists and creators, intellectual property.
This is a really exciting area. Platforms like Ascribe, Monograph, Verisart use blockchain and cryptography to essentially watermark and authenticate digital art or other creations.
Turning a digital file into a unique asset.
Precisely. It transforms easily copied intellectual property into a verifiable, unique, and potentially tradable digital asset with a clear chain of ownership. Pure Tracks takes it further for music, attaching smart contracts directly to songs.
Smart contracts for music royalties.
Yeah, automatically distributing revenues to all the rights holders, songwriters, performers, publishers, according to pre-agreed splits whenever the song is streamed or sold. Artists could even issue their own artist tokens, allowing fans to invest directly in their popularity. It's a huge shift, empowering creators to control and monetize their work directly.
Okay, this all sounds incredibly promising, but we need to be realistic. Let's talk about the challenges, the potential showstoppers, and the misconceptions.
Absolutely crucial. It's not magic, and there are significant hurdles. William Gibson's quote comes to mind. The future is here. Its infrastructure is just unevenly distributed.
The Greece example.
Right. During their 2015 economic crisis, even if people knew about Bitcoin, actually accessing exchanges to buy it, having the reliable internet, the technical know-how, it wasn't readily available when they needed it most.
Hmm.
Robust, accessible infrastructure is still fundamental. You can't just bootstrap it instantly during a catastrophe.
And the technology itself, scalability, energy use.
Yeah, those are major ongoing concerns, especially for Bitcoin's proof of work. The energy consumption is significant, and the number of transactions it can process per second is relatively low compared to, say, Visa.
So what's being done?
Core developers and many newer blockchains, the altchains, are actively working on and deploying alternative consensus mechanisms. Proof of stake is a leading contender.
Proof of stake, how does that work?
Instead of relying on computational work, network security comes from participants staking or locking up their own cryptocurrency as collateral. If they act maliciously, they risk losing their stake. The goal is to achieve similar security and decentralization, but with vastly lower energy use and potentially much higher transaction throughput. It's a very active area of research and development.
What about legal and jurisdictional issues? It must be a minefield.
Oh, absolutely. Bitcoin itself faces this patchwork of regulations globally. China bans banks from using it. The U.S. IRS treats it as property for tax purposes. There's no global standard.
And smart contracts.
Legally, they pose incredibly complex questions for existing legal frameworks. Code executes exactly as written. It doesn't understand nuance, intent, or unforeseen circumstances. It can't just assign or seize legal rights arbitrarily.
That mathematical certainty again.
Right. It leaves very little room for human interpretation or traditional legal remedies. Some scholars worry this could actually lead to more legal messiness, not less, as people try to challenge code-based outcomes in traditional courts. Will judges understand the code? How do you apply centuries of contract law to self-executing programs? Big questions.
This ties into that societal aspect, the gift of forgetting.
Yeah, Isabella Kaminska's point from the FT is creating a system that literally never forgets an immutable ledger of every transaction, every agreement, potentially every mistake actually desirable. Or is it, as she puts it, slightly sociopathic?
Because societies need forgiveness, second chances.
Human societies have long had mechanisms for debt forgiveness, statutes of limitation, ways to move on from the past. The debt jubilee-esque mentality, she calls it. Money itself is fundamentally a social construct based on shared belief and evolving norms. If everything is locked in immutable code, where's the flexibility, the humanity? It's a deep philosophical challenge to this technological determinism.
And the potential for misuse, the dictator's learning curve.
A really chilling concept from AI expert Steve Omohundro. Powerful open-source technologies designed for good.
Like a delivery drone using crypto escrow.
Can be quickly and easily repurposed by bad actors for malicious ends. Omohundro's example. Swap the package for a grenade. The same underlying tech used for harm. It highlights the huge potential for unintended consequences in a world where powerful tools become easily accessible and friction is removed. We need to think about safeguards.
So, given all these challenges, what's the role of governance? It can't just be about banning things, right?
No, and governance is different from just regulation. It's encouraging to see that even traditional institutions like central banks aren't just dismissing this.
Ben Bernanke's comments.
Yeah, the former Fed chair acknowledged blockchain could potentially promote a faster, more secure, and more efficient payment system. And today, teams at the Fed, the Bank of England, and other central banks are actively studying the technology, running pilots, figuring out the implications.
So, regulation versus governance, what's the key distinction?
Regulation tends to be top-down laws designed to control behavior, often reactive. Governance is broader. It's about stewardship, collaboration, setting standards, creating incentives for the overall health and positive development of the ecosystem.
And for blockchain, a bottom-up approach might be better.
Experience so far suggests that governments might be more effective acting as collaborative partners, participating in the governance discussions alongside developers, users, and businesses, rather than just trying to impose rules from on high onto this rapidly evolving global decentralized technology. It requires a different, more networked approach.
Is industry leadership helping here? Education?
Yes, definitely. Juichi Ito launching the Digital Currency Initiative, DCI, at MIT Media Lab was a key step, providing resources and a neutral ground for Bitcoin's core developers. Groups like blockchainworkshops.org focus specifically on education, spreading knowledge,
And international collaboration.
There's a strong push for blockchain governance to be international from the very beginning. learning the lessons from the internet's early days, where bodies like ICANN started very US-centric and had to adapt globally. Organizations like COALA, the Coalition for Automated Legal Applications, are global initiatives working on research, policy influence, and supporting application development right now.
So ultimately, the path forward isn't just about the tech itself.
Not at all. It depends profoundly on human leadership and collective action. This next digital era offers incredible possibilities, but also, as we've seen, significant dangers.
Technology is just a tool.
Exactly. Humans have to decide how to shape it, how to wield it. Constance Choi's quote sums it up perfectly. This technology holds both promise and peril. It's how we wield it that will determine its impact.
So everyone involved needs to work together.
All the stakeholders, developers, users, businesses, regulators, academics, citizens need to come together to tackle these really critical issues. How do we scale responsibly without wrecking the environment? How do we prevent powerful interests from capturing and centralizing these networks again? How do we resolve controversial standards debates without falling back into old, rigid hierarchies?
The future depends on collaboration.
The future of this revolution rests not just on brilliant code, but on our collective wisdom and ability to govern it thoughtfully and collaboratively, hopefully for the benefit of everyone.
Wow. We have certainly covered a huge amount of ground today. We've explored how blockchain isn't just, a small upgrade. It feels like a fundamental re-architecting of, well, almost everything.
The firm, business models, the Internet of Things, maybe even the basic structures of government and democracy.
Yeah, and it seems to hold this incredible potential to tackle really deep issues, economic inclusion for billions, strengthening privacy, fundamentally changing how we deal with value and trust online.
The scale of the potential transformation is just staggering. Tim Draper, the venture capitalist, had that famous line, "Bitcoin is to the dollar as the Internet is to paper."
That's a bold claim.
It captures the potential magnitude, though. This tech could drive massive efficiencies and unlock huge amounts of value by cutting out intermediaries and friction.
And Hernando de Soto's vision.
Even more ambitious. He believes blockchain has the potential to bring 5 billion people into the formal global economy, to fundamentally improve the relationship between citizens and the state, to become this powerful new platform for global prosperity, maybe even acting as a guarantor of individual rights, underpinning something like the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
That's a world-changing vision.
It truly is.
So a final provocative thought, perhaps. Who are the leaders of this revolution? Are they names we know?
Probably not, mostly. Just like in 1994, as the web was emerging, few people had heard of Pierre Omidyar, who founded eBay, or Jeff Bezos at Amazon. The leaders shaping this next era might be relatively unknown today.
And what about the existing giants? Visa, Apple, Facebook.
The future really depends on how these new pioneers emerge and how the incumbents adapt. Will they embrace decentralized power or try to control it? Will we see a truly decentralized, user-owned alternative to Facebook or Twitter emerge? Or will the existing platforms finally address user concerns about data ownership and privacy?
And the geopolitical angle. Dictators.
What will authoritarian regimes think about an internet infrastructure they potentially can't just switch off and completely censor? That's a massive question with huge implications.
So regardless of who wins or loses among the companies.
Consumers, users, citizens, we stand to win. This technology seems poised to reshape industries, shift power dynamics, and hopefully create more transparent, efficient, and equitable systems overall.
It's certainly a lot to think about. And if you are inspired, if you want to dig deeper into the technical side, the history, especially of Bitcoin.
Definitely worth understanding the origins.
Remember to visit bitcoinbytes.org one more time. It's bitcoinbytes.org. It really is a fantastic starting point for getting your head around this truly revolutionary technology.